now and then, the stars align, and Wizards of the Coast managed to knock it out of the park by creating a perfect Magic card. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today for the great joy of talking about a perfect Magic card. I mean, technically there's a tiny little nitpick that you can make with this card, but it's so insignificant that it can't really mar the perfection that is the spoiler card we will speak of today. So, without any further ado, let us get him up on the screen. We're going to be talking about Narfi Betrayer King, and since I just mentioned the nitpick, I'll get that out of the way right now. Depending on how his name is supposed to be pronounced, I may or may not like this character in terms of just his name. Overall, I love the card. Let's be real, it's perfect. But the name, if it's Narfi, then it's like, okay, you know what? That sounds all right. If it's Narfi, Narfi totally sounds like a little stuffed animal, or in an even worse case scenario, now that I'm thinking about it, sounds like Snarf from the Thundercat. So I just can't picture myself going, oh no, it's the dread zombie wizard Lord Narfi. Run, it's Narfi. I'm not running from somebody called Narfi. That's not gonna happen, all right? So that is literally the only flaw I saw with this card. There is so much to love about this card. So let's dive in and start breaking it down. So, Narfi Betrayer King. 1 black, 1 blue, and 3. What does that get you? It gets you a pretty thick body. You get a 4/3 legendary snow creature zombie wizard. And I have to say, I've always found the idea of zombie wizards to be fascinating. Because normally, like, there's different variations of undead, especially if you've played games like Dungeons and Dragons. You'll be familiar with the concept of different levels of sentience and power within different classes of the undead. And zombies are traditionally low-ranking, mindless or near-mindless, either drawn to noise, warmth, seeking out things with brains to eat, but ultimately having no real agenda other than destroy and consume, right? There's not a lot going on there. But to be a wizard is to understand the arcane, right? Like, I feel like if you have a more natural knack for magic, that you probably wouldn't be considered a wizard automatically. You might be considered something different if your abilities are innate. With a wizard, you think of study. And with study, obviously, you think of, you know, having a pretty sharp mind, able to understand all the arcane intricacies, as well as retaining the spell information in their memory. But you don't think of a zombie being able to do that sort of thing. So right out of the gate, a zombie wizard is a really weird concept. Usually you would have higher level undead as spellcasters, like liches and stuff like that, right? So I like the idea of zombie wizards for diverging from the norm, because Narfi here is not your run-of-the-mill, like, brain-dead zombie. Now, turning to basically what his abilities are, the first ability is other snow and zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. And this is, I think, the first chance that you really have in all of Magic to make a snow commander deck, really? With like a snow lord that boosts all your guys. So that's a nice, unique little tweak. And I like the fact that they put snow and zombies together, not just from a flavor perspective, but also just from a utility perspective. Because let's be real, like, snow creatures are fairly disparate, and they're usually not going to have a lot in common when it comes to trying to create like a tribal theme. So this gives you a little more leeway in that all of your snow creatures and all your zombies. So if you've ever wanted to build like a snow zombie commander deck, I think this is the first opportunity that you've had. So I like that as a lord boosting ability, and it also makes sense from a flavor perspective based on what Narfi is, right? If I am not mistaken, we're looking at one of the rulers of one of the 10 realms. That's how I perceive this. One of the rulers of the 10 realms of Kaldheim, right? If I'm not mistaken, Narfi is probably either in control or one of the major players in the realm of Karfell. The way they've done it with Magic for this set is they've broken all of the different color combinations down into their own realms. So the black-blue realm is Karfell, and it's just full of dead, like dead people, right? Zombies, whatever. Like that's what it is. It's the undead realm. And from looking at this card, I mean, I want to know more, but from looking at this card, it appears to me that Narfi is going to be the ruler over that realm. We'll see if it turns out to be that way. I have to say, the Kaldheim story, what's going on with all this flavor and everything, has really pulled me in. I'm super excited. Let's move on to Narfi's next ability. This one is interesting as well because it's a return ability, which we've seen with Undead plenty of times. So it's 3 snow mana. Return Narfi Betrayer King from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and in brackets it has the reminder text. Snow mana can be paid with mana from a snow source. So you can use any snow creature that taps for mana, and you can use lands of any color as long as they're snow lands. So it's interesting because normally when a creature comes back from the graveyard, specifically the undead style returns that black is well known for, and black-blue dabbles into a degree as well, but basically under normal circumstances, you would just be feeding the appropriate mana color into it. But you can actually bring Narfi back from your graveyard using mountains, you can do it with forests or plains, you can use even the enemy colors that would normally be anathema to a being like this. And instead now they're able to harness all of it. And I really like the way that ties into Narfi not just being about undead, not just about that concept, but also encompassing the concept of the snow of Kaldheim. It feels like more effort was put into making this card feel like it fits onto the world overall of Kaldheim than just making a zombie wizard, like a legendary zombie wizard that you could literally insert into any set, right? If you took Narfi and you put him into almost any other set from the current times, you would look at it and go, this sticks out like a sore thumb. So it's great that he's nestled right down into the flavor. Also, I want to take a moment to note and appreciate the fact that this feels like a very, very strong card, and it's printed at uncommon. I really like seeing cards that feel like they're not just draft fodder, because a lot of cards we get are just, oh, that's made for draft, and you'll play with it only in draft, and these cards will never see the light of day in regular decks. And it's a shame because there's a lot of amazing Magic artwork and overall cool cards that really get no love because they're just not good enough to compete against the top level cards, so nobody plays with them, right? But that, like, I feel also that Wizards does put almost all the good cards in rare and mythic rare slots. So it's nice to see something genuinely powerful and just overall flavorful in the uncommon slot. So I want to take a moment to appreciate that. Now the flavor text says, to serve the god of death, Narfi forfeited the warmth of life. It's a pretty straightforward sort of concept, but I definitely like the idea that Narfi became a servant of the god of death, right? Presumably, this is why he's called the Betrayer King. Things get pretty crazy when we take a look at the artwork. So unlike previous videos, I'm actually going to blow the artwork up on the full screen because I want you to be able to see all the details on this. This is part of what makes this card so absolutely perfect. So we start out by taking a look at Narfi himself. He has a very, very interesting sort of floaty crown that hovers above his head. You can see he has all these like kind of runic tattoos on his head, but also, especially at the back of his head, you can see what looks like creeping necrotic rot. It looks like meat that has been left out for too long, untended to. It could also, you know, kind of tie into the concept of cold as well. You know what I mean? Like, this is a body you would find out in the cold. He's withered. There are a bunch of different signs you can see of the transition into this death state. So not only is his head black and purplish, but parts of his face have started to rot away above his eyebrow. His one cheek is very pitted. His nose is partially gone and very blackened. His eyes have this unnatural, inhuman energy emanating from them. And that black sort of necrotic energy, not energy, I should say, feel, travels down the length of his head and is accentuated in his ears with that extra darkness. When you look at his arms, you can see that they're withered and somewhat emaciated. The fingertips are totally covered in what could be thick layers of gore that's just remained there forever. It's such a contrast to the finery that he's wearing as well, right? He's wearing the garb of a king, albeit the garb of a king that has rotted away to a degree. It still has a fairly stately feel, and it's possible that this gear has endured the time because it is indeed magical gear. But regardless, he's wearing what is nice equipment, but that hasn't been well cared for. But when you look at his hands, right, it's like, how many different necromantic rituals have you been involved in? And does he ever like wash his hands? Do you just have layers upon layers of just the leftovers of all your necrotic rituals? Or is that from clawing his way back up out of the grave every time he's destroyed? Are his hands just blackened at the tips because no matter where he gets destroyed, how ruined he is, he'll always claw his way back? Like, that is epic level flavor. But where it gets really, really insane and where I really lost my mind was when I looked in the background and I saw the tapestry behind him, and I'm like, oh my God, I love magic cards that tell you like a whole story in one card. And this is incredible because behind him on this tapestry, you get to see Narfi as he once was. He was probably a good king at one point. In the foreground of this tapestry, you can see that's Narfi. It's unmistakable. He has the exact same script tattooed forehead, the floating crown. He has the little stone that look like tiny little monoliths that float above him. And actually, you'll note, again, if you take a look at the Narfi, the current version of him, you can see that those little monoliths have broken down somewhat. They're a little more fragmented than they appear in the tapestry. So in the tapestry, you can see Narfi actually looks content. And he's standing there with his arms resting on the top of a sword in what feels like a calm and restful and also defensive stance, like the king who's going to take care of his realm. And you can see his realm behind him, right? There's a big old fortified looking town. I mean, theoretically, it could be his castle in the back, whatever it is. But you can see he's clearly standing on guard, and you have the trees there in the background with the little birds. It's a very idyllic sort of scene, right? And he's standing there over his sword, basically ready to protect everyone. And at some point, everything changed. He took a deal with the god of death, decided to serve them, maybe betrayed the entire realm. It's possible. Now, we don't know because all the lore hasn't come out, but it's possible that Karfell is the land of the dead because Narfi betrayed the entire realm and gave them over to the god of death. It's a crazy concept. And it also makes me wonder, is Narfi like a treasured servant of the god of death, or does the god not really care about him? Because the way the god of death works on Kaldheim is basically he is reverse aging. So he started as an old man and he's moving to younger. And right now he's like a petulant teen. So he has like teen angst and rage. So it's entirely possible that he may have made a deal with Narfi when he was older and more chill, essentially, and now has just abandoned him altogether. There's just so many different questions that I have. What was the betrayal? And I love it when you look at the two different versions of Narfi. The one from the past has that little smile on his face and is looking straight forward. This Narfi is looking off, and instead of holding the sword that defended people, he's holding the skull, like the skull of who knows. It could be somebody, it's most likely somebody he was responsible for betraying. It's such an intense level of flavor on this card. And when you think about it even further, the tapestries are somehow being maintained. Why are the tapestries not rotting away, right? Tapestries are made of fabric. It's snowing out here. Things will get ruined. Look at all of the stonework and wood that's laying around Narfi. These are the ruins. These are the ruins of the lands he once ruled over and protected. This might actually be where his throne room was. He might be standing inside, literally inside of his own castle that's fallen apart. And the only thing that remains are these tapestries that remind him of what once was. And for some agonizing reason, they'll never go away. Maybe it's a cruel trick of the gods. Either way, the flavor on this is absolutely amazing. This is a perfect Magic card. There are literally no flaws to this. So I wanted to share my thoughts on that. On the screen are the names of my patrons. These people are awesome. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. And I'm going to put a link up to my newest lore video over on Fantasy Geographic. If you like Magic lore and flavor, go and watch it. Thanks for coming by, my friends. See you next time.